Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 22nd live stream for the Shanty Sessions. Hope you're okay. Let us know, won't you? Let's get rid of some of that. Okay. Let us know, won't you, if you're watching. Slightly different format tonight, so just want to make sure there's no technological problems or technical problems. But welcome to, as I said, the 22nd live stream Shanty Sessions from and on behalf of the Rogue Shanty Chorus. Would love to know if you're watching. Looks like there's a few. Let us know, give us a comment or something or other. And look, while you're at it, why don't you please click share? Is that okay? Because if you do enjoy it, and I guess you might find that someone else might if you click share. If you don't, just don't click share. That's no problem at all. Who are we and what are we doing here for the previous 21 and now the 22nd? Well, we are an authentic fishing choir based in Lowestoft, which is the most easterly point of the UK, and we celebrate the music of the fishermen and seafaring communities. Normally on a Tuesday evening, we would be meeting pre-lockdown, pre-COVID, pre-coronavirus, at our base, which is the Seagull Theatre, the most easterly community theatre in the UK, to rehearse, explore and research sea shanties and folk music of the maritime communities. And that's actually as part of a wider culture called the unique coastal cultural and musical heritage of Waveney. So that's what we're doing here. And when the lockdown started and it became quite obvious that actually we couldn't physically meet, we did have to suspend our rehearsals. And in lieu of those, we started to do some virtual rehearsals, which kind of metamorphosized into these broadcasts. Yeah, just that really. So let's see who we've got. There's just a couple of people. Michelle Gallagher, good evening. Good evening, Michelle. Maggie Clark, good evening. Well, thank you very much. Well, we know it's working anyway. Look, so what have we got today? What have we got this evening? Well, it's the same old rubbish, I'm afraid, with the exception of the special guests who are not rubbish. They're fantastic. It's the same old rubbish, but just slightly different. And talking about same old rubbish, we do our wonderful Can You Guess What the Word Is? And the word we choose is from Suffolk Words and Phrases by Edward Moore, printed in 1823. Where's my physical copy? Here it be. Suffolk Words and Phrases. And Edward Moore, he decided that actually he was slightly perturbed by the decline in usage of traditional Suffolk words or East Anglian words. And so he decided back in 1823 to write down some of these words and, so that they could be preserved in history, which they were. And so at random, we ask you on a weekly basis or every live stream to have a guess and see what you think the word might be. And this week's word is cosset. Cosset. Cosset is. Let us know what you think it might be. Cosset, okay? And in the meantime, I'm going to do a couple more. Yeah, Sue Day says, ahoy there all. Hello, Sue. Hope you're well. Thanks for tuning in. And Kasia Marcinkowska says, hello, everyone. Well, Kasia, witamy na nasz transmisji. Probably pretty bad, I know, but you'll be kind anyway. Marion Bichette says, same old rubbish, lol, love your rubbish. Thank you very much. Anyway, look, let's carry on. Paul is going to be joining. We'll see at some point. We're trying something a wee bit different this evening, and we'll just see if it works. But I think I'm going to do you a song very shortly after I announce who our guests are going to be for today. And they are going to be a wonderful group called Press Gang Mutiny from Canada. So there you go. There's one for you, Marianne. This is what the guys look like. Press Gang Mutiny. We're going to have a few of the guys joining, and they've actually just released a brand new album. And so they're going to be playing us a song from that. But they're based in Toronto, Ontario, and there's all their web links going across. PressGangMutiny.com, Facebook.com/PressGangMutiny. They're on Spotify, they're on YouTube, they're on Deezer, they're on Google Music, and all of that, So they're coming up as these things do. We'll bring them on, I guess, around about halfway through. Okay, one more comment, and that's from Janet Woods. Hello, everybody. Hope you're all enjoying this lovely weather. Yeah, I do actually. Yeah. Let's hope the weather is lovely, not too hot, but certainly hot enough for everybody wherever you are. And I'm gonna do you a song, I think. Now, the song I'd like to do is called Maggie May. Just got some issues with sharing the lyrics this evening. I don't think that can happen just yet. Anyway, it will. Watch this space. But anyway, yeah. This is a song called Maggie May. It's not the Rod Stewart one, if you know. Although, very interestingly, Rod Stewart did release an album of folk songs not that long ago, maybe 3, 4, 5 years back, and it had Blood Red Roses on, which is a favourite of ours, and it's one within the repertoire of the Road Shanty Chorus, and that was quite a thing actually. So anyway, yeah, that's not bad. So this is Maggie May. A little bit of information afterwards, and newish strings. So do forgive, I haven't had a chance to cut them yet if they start catching on mixers and microphones and stuff. Come on, you young sailors, and listen to me, and when you've heard me tell, you'll believe me. For I was a fool in the port of Liverpool the very first time I came home from sea. Now I've paid off at home from Sierra Leone, £3.10 a month it was me pay. But I wasted all me tin whilst drinking up me gin with a pretty little girl called Maggie May. How well do I remember where I first met Maggie May? She was cruising up and down in Cannon Plain. She was dressed up mighty fine, like a frigate of the line. So being a young sailor, I gave chase. Kept right on her track, she took the other tack. I broke her mizzen line. Yeah, sweet mizzen. This morning I awoke with a head more bent than rope. No coat, no vest, no trousers could I find. I asked her where they were. She said, my good sir, they're down at Portland Wine Shop number 9. You had your cake and fun, and it's time for you to run, or you'll never make the dance at wedding time. To the pawn shop I did go, but my trousers didn't show. The police came and took that girl away. The judge guilty found her of robbing a homeward bounder, so now she's doing time in Botany Bay. So now she's doing time in Botany Bay. So now she's doing time in Botany Bay. Okay, Maggie May, wonderful song, and in fact, many versions of it. We know, we certainly learned it from Shanties of the Seven Seas by Stan Hugel, and there's many other versions as well. If I could just reach beyond the camera there, I could have a few more books. There's the Oxford Book of Sea Songs, North Sea Fishers and Fighters, and another separate book called Sea Shanties, just by Stan Hugel as well. Anyway, look, couple more comments, and I'm going to go to them. Linda Boyce, hi everyone. Well, hello Linda, thanks for tuning in. And then we've got Marianne Bouchert, Canadian Shanty Group. No way, can't wait. Yeah, absolutely. I hope I've got that right. No, I got it direct from them, so I think I must have done. And then Marianne Bouchert as well. So 3 claps. Thank you very much. I'm just going to let someone know that where we are, because they're trying to tune in. Anyway, so yes. I'm going to come back to Linda's comment, because Linda said hi everyone, and I said hi back. And I just want to say Linda is a stalwart tuner-inner to. Just got a message actually about the audio there. Yeah, possibly it was a little bit garbled actually. I do beg your pardon. Linda is a stalwart tuner-inner to the Ivan Bunn sessions on a Monday evening, 24 hours previous to when we start this. We do a history session with Ivan Bunn. I say we do, we just host him really, and get him online. But Ivan's fantastic knowledge. Ivan is a local historian and author, and he knows an awful lot about Lowestoft, about Waveney, about Suffolk, North Suffolk and East Anglia generally. And a lot of people tune in because they're very interested in finding out about various kind of stories or the history of certain places or wards within Lowestoft as they've kind of developed over centuries. And if you are interested in finding out more, as I know Linda is, you can catch Ivan. Usually he's with us every Monday evening around about 7:30 p.m. So if you'd like to watch him, please do. He'll be here next Monday. But he's also got 12 previous live stream sessions, which are all available to watch again. So you're very, very welcome to tune in and catch them again. Okay, so I'm just going to do a reminder of what our word of the week is, which is cosset. Cosset, C-O-S-S-E-T. And that is our word of the week from Suffolk Words and Phrases by Edward Moore. Don't think we've seen any guesses yet, so would love to see some. If you think you might know, please do. And Linda Boyce says best days of the week, Mondays and Tuesdays. Yeah, absolutely. And that's hopefully that's not just because you get the what are they called, the restaurant vouchers. Hopefully it's because of Ivan and us as well. So okay, look, I'm going to move on. Paul's going to be with us all in good time, or maybe not good time. But Maggie May. So if you are at all interested, Maggie May is round 1757. We do put all the round folk index references on at the end, but 1757, and generally it's considered to be a Liverpool folk song, and it's about a lady of the night, or someone who works in the oldest trade in the world. And there's many different versions out there. There was a wonderful East Anglian singer called Jeff Ling with a G on the end, and he was recorded singing that at the Ship Inn in Blacksall. If you don't know much about either the village of Blacksall or the pub, the Blacksall Ship, it's definitely worth looking into. It's one of the oldest traditional pubs in the country that has a very long and varied history of cultivating folk music and celebrating folk music and rural traditions and customs. And in fact, A.L. Lloyd also was recorded singing it at that very same place, the Blacksall, or Blacksall Village Hall, he was recorded singing it at. So there you go, Maggie May. Let's move on. I'm going to move on. We have a little swig of coffee. I do beg your pardon. And I just want to also say thank you very much to those of you who I'm going to say attended or watched or came along. I don't think any of those are particularly the correct term, but Paul and I, we also run a group called the Rogue Shanty Boys. And on Saturday evening, just gone, the 8th, we did our first performance in many months. That because of lockdown and because of COVID and coronavirus, we hadn't been able to do any gigs, and all our festival dates had cancelled. And we decided that we'd try and do a special online performance. And very graciously, a lot of you, we advertised it on this thread a couple of times, and very graciously, a lot of you decided to support us, buy some tickets and watch, come along, or whatever they call it. But you were in the comfort and safety of your own home, and we were kind of socially distanced or within our bubbles. It's quite an operation, but I just want to say thank you very much to anyone who did. Okay, and look, I'm gonna, Siobhan, I know there's a couple of ways to say your name, and I'm probably going to get your surname horrendously wrong, but Siobhan Fiercer, is that correct? Cosset, to pamper or look after someone or something. That sounds like a good guess. That sounds like a really good guess. So I'd love to know what everyone else thinks cosset means. And there's a comment there from Wendy Duncan. It was brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Wendy. Bless you. Anyway, let's do another song. I'm just kind of, I'm going to do, yeah, I'm going to do one now. This is, I was going to pick my guitar up, but I'm not actually. I need to sort out some issues with it, I think. I'm going to do a song called John Carter the Smuggler. It's known in Devon as the King of Prussia, and it tells the story of quite a famous family that were based within Prussia Cove, which is a kind of a bay down near in south of the country, and John Carter was the head of the family, and he was born. He was a factual man. He was a real guy, as were the rest of the family. And he was born around the mid 18th century. And he and the family were quite kind of, well, they were considered heroes, or certainly almost like folk legends to the community and to the villagers nearby, because they were smugglers. As the song title suggests, John Carter the Smuggler. They were smugglers, but they did look after the people of the villages. And in fact, it references that within the song. It says, if I can find it, and parsons never do despise a case of Holland's gin. Yeah, so basically they're saying, did they bribe the minister, the parson, with some gin when it would come in? But it was, back then, it was, the smuggling was quite a shady business, and obviously even the church were willing to turn a blind eye if they would gain from it either money or Holland's gin. But Her Majesty's Customs and Excise at the time said that it was only legal to claim the contents of a ship, the cargo that had been wrecked, if there were no surviving men on board a ship. And the Carters were well known, apparently. Prussia Cove is quite a notorious little piece of water. It's full of very shallow water with some treacherous rocks nearby. And the Carters used to tie lanterns to their donkeys and lead them about the cliffs at various times to kind of trick boats into thinking that it was a lighthouse or a low house and that it was safe to come nearby. And then they would obviously be wrecked on the treacherous rocks. And what would happen is, if most of the men on board a ship were dead or had fallen overboard or drowned or were swimming away to try and save their lives, if there was one guy on board a ship, the feeling was he needed to leave quick, because of this customs and excise rule or law that said you can only claim the cargo if no men are alive. So basically what used to happen was John Carter's two sons used to swim out, dagger in their teeth, ready to dispatch any surviving members so that they could legally say that they had claimed it, because there were no surviving men on board. They'd stab them, chuck them overboard, and just say that they'd made their own way and had drowned. So they were certainly kind of folk heroes. If nothing else, they had a song written about them. And but they were certainly rather shady characters, and there's a couple of books also been written about them that says that actually they've been kind of romanticized or glorified over the years in this song and another song as well, actually, that's local to them down there. But this is, after much ado about nothing, John Carter the Smuggler, or the King of Prussia. Of Prussia Cove, where I was born, a song I'll here begin. Me father is a smuggler bold, a well-to-do, not him. To land a cargo of the goods he never thought of sin. And 'tis my delight on a moonless night to run the cargo in. 'Tis my delight on a moonless night to run the cargo in. John Carter is me father's name, the king of all his kin. He is an honest man and keeps his word through thick and thin. For mounted men and cutlass guard he doesn't care a pin. And 'tis my delight on a moonless night to run the cargo in. 'Tis my delight on a moonless night to run the cargo in. Our lugger is the Rose and Crown we brought to rack and ruin. A double burden too, is she as snug as any beam. To see the cake she brings from France would make a donkey grin. And 'tis my delight on a moonless night to run the cargo in. 'Tis my delight on a moonless night to run the cargo in. No mark of kegs nor sinking stone is is ever seen within. Across the channel, rough or smooth, so sweetly does she spin. What joy me boys to land the goods, nor lose or kill the kin. And 'tis my delight on a moonless night to run the cargo in. 'Tis my delight on a moonless night to run the cargo in. We friends galore along the shore, there's dear old Squire Prynne, and every farmer near or far a mate there at the inn. And parsons never do despise a case of Harlem's gin. And 'tis my delight on a moonless night to run the cargo in. 'Tis my delight on a moonless night to run the cargo in. For speed from all preventing eyes, from brass hands to new lin, they'd soar a poor man's bold in heart and joy to do him in. Why should they take the bread away we work so hard to win? And 'tis my delight on a moonless night to run the cargo in. 'Tis my delight on a moonless night to run the cargo in. And 'tis my delight on a moonless night to run the cargo in. 'Tis my delight on a moonless night to run the cargo in. So I'm just going to come to a few phrases or references in there actually. So Prussia Cove we mentioned was a place just down in the cove in actual fact. And our lugger was a very small, thin boat, and it was called the Rose and Crown. We've brought to rack and ruin, as many people would be living within a village there. A double burton too. So a double burton, I think, was like a classification of a cabin, basically. So there was at least 2 beds on board, but very small still. What else are we looking at there? Yeah, so Prasands and New Lynn, both place references. And then I'm really interested in this verse. With friends allure along the shore, there's dear old Squire Prynne, and every farmer near or far a mate there at the inn. So as was the practice with many smugglers, and here in Lowestoft we certainly have a huge smuggling history. Many smugglers had routes or tunnels, and they also had kind of friends where they could store smuggled goods. Now the carters were actually very clever because they found this legal get around, and they knew that actually as long as they dispatched anyone who was on board, then legally they could claim it, and there was nothing that Her Majesty's Custom and Excise could do. And actually I think certainly for rural villages that didn't feel that they were part of some of the larger towns or cities such as London or Birmingham or Liverpool or Manchester and so on, they felt probably that actually Her Majesty's Customs and Excise were the enemy, not so much the smugglers, and they were consequently willing to just see what they could gain out of it by supporting the carters, and whether it was financially or with goods. And so they would actually provide places where the men could hide, or more importantly, the goods could be hidden. And as we know, there are many tunnels and reports of tunnels and smuggling routes here in Lowestoft as well. And that would have absolutely been the case too in Prussia Cove. But as I say, they did it very cleverly because they were allowed to legally claim any cargo as long as no one was left on board the wreck. And no one was ever left on board the wreck because they would swim out with their daggers between their teeth. Anyway, look, I'm going to just show you this word one more time because we've had a few more guesses, and this is where are we? Let's find it. Yeah, so this is our Suffolk Words and Phrases by Edward Moore, and the word is cosset. Cosset. Cosset is. Cosset is. So let us know what you think that is. We have had a few guesses. Look, I'm going to say Michelle Gallagher. Cosset, a character in Les Miserables. A slight spelling mistake. That's true, yeah. Cosette. Very good. Sue Day says, Cosset, agree, it means to look after rather too well, to pamper, still in use today. Well, that's absolutely brilliant. I'm not going to say that you're correct, Sue, but if you are, I will make reference to that. Linda Boyce says, Cosset, to fuss over. Marion Boucher says, wreckers, an evil business, but those were rough and desperate times. They still are, Marion. In fact, I'm thinking of going out to do some smuggling and wrecking myself. Yeah, so who was it? Was it Sue? Yeah, Sue Day says, Cosset, as I just shown on screen, agree, it means to look after rather too well to pamper, still in use today. Well, now, Edward Moore, when he actually was in India for many years, and when he came home to his beloved Suffolk, he was actually rather upset that many of the words that were either colloquial or local to Suffolk or peculiar to Suffolk, he was rather upset that they seemed to be in slight decline. And way back in 1823, even when these words were old then, he felt that actually he should do something about it. And this, the book that he wrote, was one of the first etymology collections and is actually considered to be a very important piece of work. But maybe without him having published this book, if you ladies are correct in your guess of what Cosset is, maybe without him, then this word Cosset wouldn't still be in usage. So maybe he has achieved something there in what he wanted to do. Anyway, look, I think Paul is going to be joining us soon. And the other people that are joining us soon will be, we hope, Press Gang Mutiny, all technology being well, and they will be joining us live from Toronto, Ontario. So just one there for Marion. If you want to check out their details, you can do that later, but it's pressgangmutiny.com, facebook.com/Press Gang Mutiny. They're on Spotify, they're on YouTube, they're on Deezer, they're on Google Music, and all that kind of thing. Anyway, so that's Press Gang Mutiny, and we're absolutely looking forward to them. Got a few of their members joining, and they're going to be sharing a song from their new album. Okay, Monica Manning says, hi everyone, Monica, and hi to you. So I'm going to do one more song, and then we're going to get Paul in, and I'm going to do another song. It seems like we like these kind of songs where they're a little bit political. I guess you couldn't be a folk musician and not be a little bit political, could you? But this one is a wonderful song called My Son John, also known as My Son Tim, also known as Mrs. McGrath, also known as Mrs. McGrath and the General. There's lots of possible titles to this, and tells the apparently true story of a young man who went off. He joined the Navy, and he went off to fight for his country. And when he came back, he had no legs. He lost both his legs in a very unfortunate accident with a cannonball on board a ship. And this song tells apparently the true story of how John or Tim or Mrs. McGrath's son, whatever his name may be, was having to defend himself to a Royal Naval disablement officer about the fact that he was rather careless to have been in the way of the oncoming cannonball. Unbelievable, you might say, but we had not such a different scenario a few years back under a Conservative government, where people were having to prove that they were disabled to get their disabled pay. So we always, when we do this live, we always say some things never change, and maybe they don't, But yeah, this is kind of half in jest, but with apparently a true story behind it. Anyway, it goes like this. My son John was tall and slim, and he had a leg for every limb. But now he's got no legs at all, but he ran a race with a cannonball. With me rum jar, paddle diddle jar, paddle diddle with me rum jar. For I was tall and I was slim, and I had a leg for every limb. But now I've got no legs at all. They were both shot away by a cannonball. With you rum dar, paddle diddle dar, paddle diddle with you rum dar. Let's be done. A word you left, a word you line, when you left, a couple of legs behind. Or was it sailing on the sea up to 5 legs from the ground. We will run, paddle diddle dar, one paddle diddle, we will run. Oh, I was not to run, neither was I blind when I left my 2 flying things behind. When up came a bloody great cannonball, shot away the Stephen skins and all. Willie will run, paddle diddle dar, paddle diddle, Willie will run. Cross first. Once a year, Mrs. McGraw. And now I'll cross the raging main, the King of France and the Queen of Spain. And I will make them rule the time that they shot away the legs of a child of mine. Paddle diddle dar, one paddle diddle, with me will run, paddle diddle dar, one paddle diddle, with you run. Okay, so my son John, and oh, there's the boy.
Very nicely done, Stephen. Very nice indeed. I wonder if your microphone is plugged in today.
Probably not. Probably not.
Oh, what's he like? Now, that was a really, really nice rendition of Mrs. McGrath, or my son John, or my son Tim. As Stephen said, it goes by many titles. We have a comment from Siobhan Fiercer. She says one of the universities at Leeds is working in conjunction with the Museum of East Anglian Life at Stowmarket to update the list of Suffolk words and phrases that was made in the 1950s. Siobhan, there is a wonderful, wonderful museum at Stowmarket, and it is indeed called the Museum of East Anglian Life. Steve and I have been there. We've performed there. We've loved it. We've researched there. There's lots and lots of things to do there, especially if you like East Anglian life. So thank you very much for that comment. Stephen's just going to sort some bits and pieces out. As he mentioned, we've got Press Gang Mutiny joining us direct from Toronto, as well as Ontario. And in talking of Canada, Marion Bouchette says, "My son John is such a sad song, but well sung, Stephen." It is quite a sad song, you're right, and it was very well sung. I'm going to give you a song now, I think, called Stormy Weather, Boys. Now, this is number 39 in our regular Rogues repertoire, all the alliteration. And this is especially for Sue Day. I'm not sure, I think she's watching tonight. She asked for it recently when the Shanty Boys did a bit of a concert the other night. We weren't able to oblige her, but I'm going to do it right now. It's pretty rude. It's pretty risque. It should avoid any sensitivities for the younger generation. But any older generation that dislike some of the double entendre that you get from some of these shanties, I guess all I can say is look away now. I hope not to offend anyone. It's really not that rude, and it's a pretty old song. So thus as it ever was. Sailors were a bit cheeky. They were a bit rude. They were away from land for quite a long time on the odd occasion, and there were certain things they missed. And this comes out in this song. As I said, Stormy Weather Boys, number 39 for our regular Rogues. Here we go. Please do join in with the chorus, which we'll try and feature the lyrics for up on the screen. And the chorus is, stormy weather boys, when the wind blows, our barge will go. We was laying in Surrey dock one day. The mate knew that it was time to get underway. Stormy weather boys, when the wind blows, our barge will go. He's homeward bound, but he's out of luck. He's gone, 'cause the skipper's half drunk in the Dog and Duck. Stormy weather, boys, stormy weather, boys. When the wind blows, our barge will go. The skipper came aboard with a girl on his arm. He's gonna give up barging and take a farm. Stormy weather, boys, stormy weather, boys. When the wind blows, our barge will go. At last we're off down Limehouse Reach, but the lee board's knocked on Greenwich Beach. Stormy weather, boys, stormy weather, boys. When the wind blows, our barge will go. We shoves her off and away we go, but the skipper's got a barrel of beer below. Stormy weather, boys, stormy weather, boys. When the wind blows, our barge will go. She fills away and she sails like heck, but there ain't no bargeman up on deck. Stormy weather, boys, stormy weather, boys. When the wind blows, our barge will go. We lay close hauled round Orford Ness when the wind backed round to the south-southwest. Stormy weather, boys, stormy weather, boys. When the wind blows, our barge will go. We reached our port all safe and sound and tied her up in Yarmouth town. Stormy weather, boys, stormy weather, boys. When the wind blows, our barge will go. So after all our fear and alarms, we all ended up in the Druids' arms. Stormy weather, boys, stormy weather, boys. When the wind blows, our barge will go. Stormy weather, boys, stormy weather, boys. When the wind blows, our barge will go. Hopefully you like that. Stephen's staying out of it because I think he realizes I made a mistake and I've sung completely the wrong song. But that's okay, I guess. But that's Stormy Weather Boys. I can see him laughing. He's not going to join us. Stormy Weather Boys, no. As requested by Sude. We weren't able to oblige her the other day, but hopefully she enjoyed that more than Stephen did.
Yeah, so as Paul said, that was Stormy Weather Boys and not Cruising Around Yarmouth at all.
Not Cruising Around Yarmouth. I'll do that now.
Never mind. I'm going to do a song now for you, and this is no, I'm not going to. I'm going to let Paul chat for a minute because I want to find a reference for this song when I do it, and take me a moment just to find that. So I'm going to let Paul chat.
Okay, well, I'm going to chat and let you know that we're going to have a little go of Cruising Round Yarmouth a little bit later. That's the song that I was supposed to sing, and as cheeky as Stormy Weather Boys is, Cruising Round Yarmouth is even cheekier. So that's the one that you need to watch out for your sensitivities. But I will just say thank you very much to Marion for an undeserved triple round of applause. Also to Michelle Gallagher. She does the same. Very kind, very grateful to you for that. It's not necessary. I don't deserve it because it was completely the wrong song. But no reaction from Sude, which is telling, perhaps.
Well, she was probably just outraged that you didn't actually sing the song that you dedicated to her. She's probably just absolutely.
Well, that was the one that she wanted.
It was. Oh, okay, fair enough. She's fine then. I'm going to do a song now, and this was a song that our Road Shanty Chorus put into our repertoire, and then we constantly do some research about various songs and traditions and customs within the fishing industry, and then we found out some really interesting information about this. And to kind of explain that information, I need, if you'll indulge me, I will explain something else actually. And the town that we particularly are interested in is Lowestoft. I think if you've tuned in at least a couple of times, you will probably know that. And Lowestoft is the most easterly town in the UK, and certainly up until the end of the 19th century, and even as far as between the two world wars, Lowestoft had a huge fishing fleet. But it was actually something. It was actually two huge big deals really that made for Lowestoft's fishing history. One of them was that in 1837, Sir Samuel Morton Peter was very instrumental in being, or rather, he was very instrumental in Lowestoft being granted the status of port town. And port town, instead of just being a harbour, meant that Lowestoft could catch a lot more fish, an awful lot more fish. It brought development, it brought investment, it brought infrastructure. And part of that infrastructure was the rail lines opening up. 5 years after that, in 1842, again, no small thanks due to Sir Samuel Morton Peto, the rail line from Lowestoft went to Reedham, which is a small village, kind of, I guess, in Norfolk, 15 miles to the west of Norwich, and not a big place at all. But Reedham, certainly at that time, went on to London, Manchester, Birmingham, Liverpool, and those two things really meant that Lowestoft was bringing in a lot more fish, and with that fish, they could then send the day's catch up to Manchester, Birmingham, all these cities around the UK in time for people to have, as Sir Samuel Morton Peto said, people to have it for customary afternoon tea, kippers, herring, whatever the catch of the day was. And as suddenly the catch quotas increased, it meant that more people who wanted to become fishermen could become fishermen within Lowestoft and the surrounding villages. Prior to that, certainly it was and has always been a very dangerous occupation. Still, I think it's the third most dangerous occupation in the world, and I think was number 1 or 2 back then. But there just wasn't the business for it. But then when Lowestoft became port town and we could start sending fish out, suddenly they could, and you would find that there would be 4, sometimes 5 generations of men fishing out of Lowestoft, and retired fishermen would be brought back in because they just simply couldn't keep up with the amount of fish that they could catch and bring in. And there was a place in Lowestoft called the Beach Village. It's also known as the Grit, or just the beach, and also the village or the town below the cliff. And it was a curious place, and it was mostly where fishermen and people who lived in supporting industries lived along with their families. It's extremely cramped, and eventually it was taken down because it was declared unfit for human habitation by Lowestoft Town Council. This was actually as late as 1958, which was 5 years after the biggest flood the East Coast ever saw and destroyed most of the houses there. But I'm going somewhere with this, by the way. I'm going to read an excerpt from Gerald's guidebook to Lowestoft, which was printed in 1898, and it says, "The High Street is generally called the Old Town, but turn down any of the scores, which were kind of like alleyways that led down towards the beach, the actual beach, not the beach village, but also the beach village. But turn down any of the scores leading to the sea, and we come upon another town, quite different in character, and some say older still, though its quaint and often dilapidated dwellings do not look much calculated to resist time's ravages. This is termed the beach, and is where mostly reside the fishing population, a hardy and interesting folk. Thriftless often and careless they are, but patient and uncomplaining amid the hardships of their lot, and hopeful still of better days to come." And there were better days to come. Certainly there were, yeah. "They may be reckoned as altogether a distinct class from the residents in other parts of the town. They speak a provincialism peculiar to themselves, and their style of dress is not to be classed among the fashions of the present day. As a rule, they intermarry among themselves and seldom migrate to other parts of the town." So that was the population of the beach village. And we were particularly interested in a couple of kind of customs that they used to observe, one of which was something called a smoker, or a shod concert. Now, men in Lowestoft, the fishermen in Lowestoft, used to have like, I guess you could call them huts or barns or sheds. They were often quite tall, but aside from that, they would look like a shed. And in Lowestoft, they would call them shods. We don't know why, but it does seem that it was a peculiar term to Lowestoft. And once a year, usually around Christmas, the men would come in. They would cure and smoke all their fish, and they would have a good old sing-song. And we found a mention of one of these in the Lowestoft Journal, which was printed 9th of March 1901, and it says the annual smoking concert was held on Tuesday evening in the old company Shod, where a good many members and friends were present. Refreshments were provided, and a pleasant evening was passed. Among the members present were, and then it gives a number of names. Several good old sea songs were sung, including Boldly Go to Sea by John Butcher. Tom Butcher, his son, caused much amusement by a song entitled Mackerel and Herring. And to finish off, Posh, also known as Fitzgerald, sang Don't Forget Your Old Shipmates. And that brings me to the song that I'd like to do, which is a song. It's certainly believed to be a naval song, and we've done a fair bit of research and have no reason to believe it isn't. But certainly the guys in Lowestoft used to love this one too, and it goes like this. So I'll just do this one a cappella, no guitar on this. Safe and sound at home again, let the waters roar, Jack, and we'll sing with glad refrain. Let the chorus soar, Jack, long we've tossed on the rolling main, now we're safe ashore, Jack. Don't forget your old shipmate, holly, rolly, 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 ride-o. Since we sailed from Plymouth Sound, 4 years gone or nigh, Jack, was there ever chummies now, such as you and I, Jack? Long we've tossed on the rolling main, now we're safe ashore, Jack. Don't forget your old shipmate, holly, rolly, 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 ride-o. We have worked the self-same gun, quarter-deck division, sponge your eye and loader you through the whole commission. Long we've tossed on the rolling main, now we're safe ashore, Jack. Don't forget your old shipmate, rolly, 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 ride-o. Oftentimes have we laid out, toil nor danger fearing, hauling out the flapping sail to the weather rearing. Long we've tossed on the rolling main, now we're safe ashore, Jack. Don't forget your old shipmate, rolly, 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 ride-o. There she swings an empty hope, not a soul below now. Number 7 starboard mess, Mrs. Jack and Joe now. Long we've tossed on the rolling main, now we're safe ashore, Jack. Don't forget your old shipmate, rolly, 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 ride-o. Long we've tossed on the rolling main, now we're safe ashore, Jack. Don't forget your old shipmate, rolly, 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 ride-o. There you go. So like 3-minute song and a 12-minute intro. But we happen to think that the history of the old beach village, or the grit, or the beach is a fascinating one. Certainly in the kind of Lowestoft's fortune and social history is inextricably tied up with the rise and fall of the beach village, and it kind of, the only real thing that put paid to the beach village was ultimately the industry no longer being so buoyant, and partly that was due to the 2 wars. In between the 2 wars, the fishing fleet was decimated, but also what happened to the residents of the beach village. They were quite simply moved out. As I said earlier, the houses were declared unfit for human habitation. Mostly that was following 2 big floods, in particular a huge one in 1953, which, although it killed no one in Lowestoft, certainly did across the East Coast and in the Netherlands as well. And it destroyed most of the houses down there, many of which were extremely cramped and small and ramshackle anyway. And many people say that actually Lowestoft Town Council, when they declared the houses unfit for human habitation, they had it in their minds that they were going to bring in business to the area anyway. And now actually that's kind of what it is. Not quite a trading estate, but there's a huge bird's eye factory there, and that came in the 60s, and that coincided with many people having compulsory purchases put on their small cottages and houses. And in actual fact, Paul and I were very fortunate enough to visit some beach village cottages, which are underneath shops in the high street, and there you can where you can't. It's not possible to. But we were allowed to go down into the cellar of this shop, and we saw a very tiny alleyway, and off that there were some very small houses and like a communal baking area. And it was we found some diary entries that kind of implied that these shops were built over the top of these cottages of these people who just said, no, I'm not moving, this is where I live. And they became quite stoic and stalwart, and so they just basically blocked out their light by building right over the top of them. And so that was the lot of the people of the beach village. So anyway, enough talking. Paul's been trying to get back on a couple of times, so come on, Paul.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, so 3 rounds of applause from Marion Bruchette, and also 3 from Michelle. She says, always like singing this with my fellow rogues. And we certainly enjoy hearing it, Michelle. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Marion says, an excellent definition of folk song. 3-minute song, 12-minute intro.
Exactly, yeah.
And usually not a lot of middle eight.
No, in fact, I don't think I've ever heard a middle eight on a shanty. Certainly,
No,
you're lucky if you even get a verse. Usually, it's just a chorus, isn't it? A refrain, or doggerel, as they say. Yeah,
now,
middle eight. I've never heard one.
I'm going to go back to Sude. She says, "Thank you so much, Paul." Thank you, Steve. Reminds me of my time on Wherries in Norfolk, in Suffolk, and canal boats to Limehouse. Of course, knocking on Limehouse Reach, as is the lyric in that particular shanty that I wasn't supposed to do. Sandra Warner, she ponders on the word cosset, our Suffolk word or phrase of the week. How you heard it, Billy? That's what we're asking. Cosset is certainly a word I would know as to pamper, but could it be in Suffolk as a warm drink to help your health, like a posset, which I think was like a hot medicine? Could be, Sandra, could be. We'll reveal all a little bit later. I've heard of posset, but I'm not sure if I've heard of it in that context. Now, Martha Knox Forrester, she comments, hello, everyone. I'm watching on my TV with YouTube. It's like having Paul and Stephen in the room. I'm not sure if she means that's a good thing or a bad thing, or it's just a thing.
I'll tell you what, then, Martha, it's really not. I know it feels like it, but it's really not.
It's certainly a thing, and thank you for commenting that, Martha Knox Forrester, because it does remind us that anybody that's not particularly keen on Facebook can watch via YouTube, and vice versa. This is our 22nd episode, as you can see, our 22nd live stream since March the 16th, 17th. Just before lockdown occurred. We've been keeping this going on a weekly basis since then, and very glad we are too. Now, don't forget, joining us very, very shortly is Press Gang Mutiny. They're live from Toronto and Ontario in Canada. You can check them out on their website, pressgangmutiny.com, or also on their Facebook page /pressgangmutiny. Why don't you do that after they've appeared with us, or at least after we finish this episode? And in the meantime, enjoy what they have to offer and the rest of what we have to offer as well. They're lining up in our green room, our virtual green room. I don't think they've all assembled yet, have they, Stephen?
I think I'm looking. I can see you guys back there. So give me a thumbs up if I'm right in saying that we're waiting for one more. Is that right? Two more. Wonderful.
2 more. Okay.
No, just you two. It's like a game of charades, isn't it? Sounds like 3 syllables.
In Britain, cool. that gesture has something very different attached to it, actually. Yeah. But perhaps it does in Canada too.
So, Richard and James, it's just you two guys, yeah? Perfect. Well, I'm going to ask Paul to do one more song, and then I think we're going to bring you guys in, if that's all right.
Okay, I'm going to do a real shorty then in that case. This is to herald the fact that there's a new song coming tonight. Now, Kev, our wonderful folky storyteller.
Hang on a minute, Paul. Hang on a minute. There isn't if we're not together, is there?
What?
There isn't if we're not together.
Maybe not.
No.
It depends if I can work the chords out. No one mentioned it, so no one noticed. There'll certainly be a brand new song coming from Kevin, Stephen, and myself either this week or next. And to herald the fact that we will be doing that, I'd like to sing you a song that Stephen and I wrote. This is called The Half Mast. Now, we have a beautiful, wonderful bunch of singers, and as you all know, they're called the Rogue Shanty Chorus, and this is what they look like, those bunch of rogues. Last time we were in concert, this is for a shoddy night in, and you can see hopefully that this is a wonderful cast of singers, and we miss them dearly, and Kevin's among those. Now, unfortunately, due to life, or not just life, but the other end of life, we've lost a couple of those wonderful singers, and we pay tribute to them in each show. This song is a reflection of that. It's called The Half Mast, and it's all around the fact that when we display our flag with the names of rogues that we've loved and lost, we kind of fly it at half mast to recognise the loss along the way, and we're fascinated by the tradition of drinking when the sun is over the yard arm. And now this is in reference to when on board a ship, it is said in olden times that if the sun passed over the yard arm, which happened roughly around 11 a.m., 12 noon, then it was fair game to have a drink. And that's what the skipper would say. Before that, no drinking. But after that, absolutely fine. So, like I say, around noon, as long as the sun had passed over the yard arm, you could have a little drink. And so we combined the two of flying the flag at half mast and drinking at the sun at the yard arm, drinking a drink to our lost rogues along the way. It goes like this. Where the petrel flies, o'er the waves of calm, see the sun arise above the yard arm. We remember crew, we remember cast, and I drink to you at the half mast. Let out the sail for a gentle breeze on the herring trail of the silver seas, to the mates we knew of a voyage past, share a drink or two at the half mast. Let out the sail for a gentle breeze on the herring trail of the silver seas, to the mates we knew of a voyage past, share a drink or two at the half mast. And as I said earlier, that's in tribute to some fine singers and fine rogues that we've lost along the way. Too many, obviously, always too many. Even one would be too many. But we remember them dearly. And when we sing together, we sing for them.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you, Paul. So, okay, we're going to bring in a couple of guys from all the way from Canada. I'm going to bring in Richard first. We'll just make sure that your mic is okay, Richard, and then we'll bring in James. So let's bring you in. Can you hear me all right?
I'm doing great. How are you? Hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
And let's try James now. James, can you hear me okay?
Yeah. How are you?
Perfect. Yeah, lovely. Let's bring Paul back then. Nicely. So you guys are a couple of members of Press Gang Mutiny. And do you know what? When I looked at your website earlier, firstly, thank you very much for coming on. We did ask you a while back and you replied, and then very rudely I managed to ignore it somehow for a while, and you kind of went, hey, we're still up for it. So thank you. But when I looked at your website, you reminded me of something really important actually, and that's just a little note that you've got on there saying that they are, which is Press Gang Mutiny, they are keeping alive a vital tradition of work songs that represent the world's first truly multicultural music, which is absolutely bang on. You know, we've said that now and again, but not for a long time, and it's easy to forget that, isn't it? I think how kind of liberal and accepting sailors and fishermen were,
and diverse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I guess
really interesting point there. I think when you think about the references to, for example, checkerboard crews that you hear in a lot of the verses that we sing, and these will very often be the first instances of diverse and multicultural people working together. We like to look at sea shanties as really the first multicultural international music, as you had that that different groups of nations from different workers from different groups of nations coming together and working towards this one common goal, united through this one common language of music. I think it's actually quite a beautiful concept, especially.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I guess now, you download something on iTunes and it says people who brought, I don't know, Randy Dandio by the Press Gang Mutiny would also like this song. But back then, music was spread through ports and harbors and fishermen and sailors and loggers and, lots of similar trades. And so, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, so we ask everyone who comes on this, and we know the answer already, but I guess lockdown and COVID has just kind of decimated any gigs or festivals you've had on the cards for this year, has it?
Indeed. Yeah. So it seems to have affected everybody that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's been a pretty tough go. I think that this is one of those things where, and it's funny because I professionally, I work in video conferencing and telecommunications. So I try to bring people together through exactly what we're doing right now. And I think that, just the physics tells us that you just can't, there's latency. You're moving electrons over wires. So with that little bit of latency, you can't sing with someone else online. You can see them, you can have a Zoom chat, but just being able to, stand beside each other and listen to each other and sing together, it's just, that's like, thanks, Marianne, you're funny.
I guess we should say that Marianne is a fellow Canadian, so she's been tuning in for many streams and been listening to our weird accents. But she's that's a compliment.
I figured that. Yeah. So it's been tough not singing together. I certainly have missed my fellow Shantymen. We had the opportunity at one point. We did do a small Shanty festivals. The first year, they were of course impacted as well. Had to go remote, so we did the Oban Shanty Festival, and we were able to get together as a group, physically distanced in a church. Windows open and fans blowing and 20 feet apart and such, and so we were able to sing once together. How many months ago was that, James?
I'd say about 3 months ago or so.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. So we had a little taste of it, but it's tough.
Yeah. I mean, we so you might not quite be aware, but we broadcast on behalf of a shanty choir that Paul and I run, along with another guy, our percussionist Andy, and the reason this kind of came about is because we're within a funded project in the UK to explore the associated heritage of the fishing industry. So it's not just the folk music and sea shanties, but also kind of some of the customs, and it's part of a wider creative arts project. And our shanty choir, our fishing choir, usually would meet on a Tuesday evening, and obviously when mid-March, everyone was told that in the UK that non-essential contact could not happen. We had no choice but to suspend the project. And as a result of that, we trying to keep people connected. We started to do virtual rehearsals, which turned into this kind of broadcast. But we also have our own shanty crew, the Rogue Shanty Boys, and we did our first gig together Saturday just gone, and we sold tickets for people to watch online, so they were watching from safety and comfort of their own home. We were together but socially distanced, but as it happened, some of us within bubbles anyway. And it was such a glorious moment, because we reminded ourselves what a laugh we have, and we not to be too kind of sentimental about it, but like Band of Brothers. And we'd been threading stuff over the internet, jokes and insults for the last few months, but to actually get together, do what we normally do, have a good laugh and just go for it in front of kind of an audience was brilliant. And I think it brought us home to all of us how much we missed it. And we knew we missed it, but we didn't quite realize how much, I think. So I definitely get what you're saying there for sure, Richard. Yeah.
And I'd say, James, us as a group, we've only really been performing together for 2 or 3 years now. I'd say, Stephen, wouldn't you? But Press Gang Mutiny has been together since 2013. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So it must be really hard for you guys, having made that association over such a long period of time now.
Yeah, certainly. And the group kind of emerged out of another band that I play in as well, called the Lemon Bucket Orchestra, which does sort of Balkan, klezmer, Roma Gypsy kind of Eastern European, Serbian kind of music. So I was out on a tour with them in 2013, and we started sort of singing bits of songs in these long voyages in these non-air conditioned vans crisscrossing Eastern Europe. And it got me thinking about old bits of shanties that I'd heard from my dad singing when I was a kid. And so we just started kind of singing those kinds of things together, and the band evolved out of that, and it kind of morphed out of a bit of that community as well. So it's also sort of not seeing all the people that support the group and, you know, people for whom the shanties, it means something, you know. So it's tough for everybody right now, for sure. But I think we're all missing that sort of communal aspect that music provides us with.
I'll tell you that when this is all done and you get that vaccine, those folk clubs are going to be something special, because those people, to James's point, those people that you saw every month or 3 months even, you know what I mean? You don't realize how close they are. You don't realize how important that is to your life and to your family, and then it's taken away for such a period of time. And gosh, I'm looking forward to the hugs and the pints, and yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I suppose it's that kind of community that you just pick up where you left off. It doesn't matter, like you say, it could be a month, could be 3 months, but you fall right back into the last time you spoke to them, the last time you saw them.
Yeah.
It can't be any other way but like that, and like you say, over a pint of beer and some good singing.
It's actually been scientifically proven that singing together is the best team building exercise across different types of team building exercises, and different disciplines that you can do. So that bond that you get singing, that's real. It has been studied.
Brilliant.
Yeah, well, Stephen often mentions that there's evidence to suggest that as a species, we may have been singing before we were speaking.
Yep.
That makes sense. Yeah.
In actual fact, I'm just going to bring this a great book, Singing Neanderthals by Stephen Mithen. Worth checking out.
We're going to get on great. I'm just going to put that on my reading list right now.
I'll send you the ISBN or something. Yeah, brilliant. So we've got a few songs from your new album, guys. We've got Across the Western Ocean, Double Barrel, and Storm Along John medley. Are they all from the new album?
They are, yes.
Yeah. So I'd love to play a couple or all of those. And is there? So was the album kind of happening prior to lockdown, or have you managed to do it through somehow?
We started recording it in July of last summer, and then we just got around to the mixing and mastering more recently. So yeah, the whole album was recorded just about a year ago, just over a year ago. So it kind of worked out well as well. It kind of made us think, like, you know, now that lockdown's happening and, you know, there's not that much new music being produced outside of people who are able to work remotely or work at their own studios, we figured it'd be a good time to finally put this out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you actually think about it, it's a perfect time, isn't it? Because people are hopefully going out and finding new suggestions, new music, and a lot of people have been stuck at home and they don't just want to watch the telly, do they? They want to hopefully pick up some culture.
Yeah, I think so.
We should just say that the album itself is called Across the Western Ocean, as well as the track that Steve's about to play.
So I think that's decided it for me. I'm going to play Across the Western Ocean, if that's all right. And then we'll chat to you again afterwards. Is that all right?
Sounds great.
Perfect. So I'm just going to mute everybody except me. Not because I need to talk, but just because otherwise you won't hear the song.
Oh, the times are hard and the wages low. Amelia, where you bound to? The Rocky Mountains will be my home. Across the Western Ocean, it's a land of plenty, there you'll see. Amelia, where you bound to? I'm off across the Western Sea. Across the Western Ocean, we're bound away from friends and home. Amelia, where you bound to? We're bound away, new lands to roam. Across the Western Ocean, beware those packet ships, I say. Amelia, where you bound to? They'll steal your stores and clothes away. Across the western ocean. There's a Liverpool Pat in his tarpaulin hat. Amelia, where you bound to? And the Yankee Jack, that packet rat, across the western ocean. Oh, mother, father, say goodbye. Amelia, where you bound to? And sisters, brothers, don't you cry. Across the western ocean.
Lovely. Okay, let's just turn that off for a moment and bring you all back. Wonderful. Do you know I had is that an original or is it an existing shanty, a traditional?
That's a traditional one. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard that one before. Lovely.
No, I've not come across it, but it's got kind of remnants of Levo Johnny and just as we were saying, just like every or most shanties, there's such a cross pollination throughout the genre, and it must go back to that sharing of ports. I'm a big fan of the Beatles, and John Lennon said that if Liverpool hadn't been a port town, that they never would have been influenced in the way they had. Perhaps not have made music at all, and it's very much a truism that the boats go from port to port, and they just ship their cargo is the music as well as whatever goods they were carrying.
Absolutely. With the case of Liverpool, I for sure agree with all the importation of 78s and 45s and 33 RPM records that were coming in from America at the time, which you could not get obviously through streaming or that kind of thing. You had to get the physical artifact.
Yeah.
And I think Liverpool has a history of that. That's why I think Liverpool is sort of like one of the, probably the biggest hotbed of sea shanties. Was you had all these sailors coming through, usually especially with the packet ships between New York and Liverpool. And as Stan Hugel says, so much of the music was sort of created and at the very least preserved by Irish sailors out of Dublin, Liverpool, and New York, right? So you got those sort of hotspots.
Yes.
And I think if you look at Irish traditional music too, that the idea that you get the tenor banjo, which has become an instrument which has its roots in West Africa, coming through, via the United States, that's like a tangible piece of evidence of music and instruments crossing cultures and being picked up in unlikely places, incorporated into the traditions.
We've got some comments that I'm going to read out to you because it was a wonderful, wonderful song. The first coming from Marion. Lovely gents. I've heard that one here on the West Coast too. Michelle Gallagher, one of our regular rogues, she says lovely. And Charlie Moore, who knows a thing or two about harmony, she says great, love that, fantastic harmonies and nice stops. I'm a sucker for a stop too.
So how many, I know there's more than just the two of you. How many are there? And do they all have like burly beards like you guys have? I feel really outdone.
I'm
This is my pandemic beard.
Is it really?
I've let it go since the lockdown. Yeah.
That's
so
very impressive.
It's a trim. We're four total. Four total. 2.5 bearded. Stefan has a strong goatee, but not the hirsute styles that we do. So four total, and we've morphed from up to 7 in our lineup down to 4 in the current state. Being comprised of various musicians, usually in 3 or 4 different projects. We've had an excellent time really experimenting with a bunch of different voices, and over the past, I'd say, what is it now, 3 or 4 years, we've settled on this. 3 years or so now, we've settled up on this lineup here. So,
well, it sounds like much more than 4. You really make such a dense body of sound with those harmonies. Yes, it's a wonderful sound, but it sounds much more than 4.
Thank you.
We're pretty dense, all right. Yeah.
Very good. So would it be okay if I now play Double Barrel, or we've got Stummalong John medley? Is there a preference?
I'm not sure what Double Barrel is. I think I sent you the other one was Ohio.
Oh, is it? Okay, I tell you what, then I'll try and play Storm Along John, and you know, during which I'll see if I can quickly grab the other one as well. So
yeah. Just your point on the different sort of versions of shanties and the evolution like that. This is a medley of 2 different versions of Storm Along John. The version I got, I heard it from recording Bew and McCall, and Richard, I think, probably got it from the Stan Hugel book, the Shanties.
Yeah.
So it's an example of 2 different versions of shanties that were collected, and undoubtedly there must have been many other versions that never made it to paper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's fascinating. This could help Stephen and I solve many arguments in the future, because you've got both versions into one. I think this is good news for us, Stephen, isn't it? We won't have to argue in future.
I mean, so we've done a couple of albums with our group, and we found that I'm sure it's the case with every country, but we contacted the MCPS, Mechanical Copyright Protection Society, because we wanted to make sure it was all kind of legal when we recorded it, and if there were, we thought there wouldn't be, but if there were any royalties to pay, that they got paid. And they said that ultimately they said that if you are using versions that you have contributed to yourself to become original, then that version belongs to you. And Paul likes to arrange music, and usually we do argue over, well, let's do it like this, no, let's do this version, and it ultimately comes down to the fact that Paul arranges things better and quicker than I do, so he wins. But I think we're going to take on board that technique, and in future we'll do 2 different versions. When I say 2 different versions, what I mean is we just put a big tempo change in the middle.
That works.
Yeah. Anyway, this is
Storm Along John medley.
Storm Along John. Here we go.
Oh, poor old Stormy, that good old man. Way storm along John. Poor old Stormy, that good old man. Way, hey, Mr. Storm along. Stormy's gone and laid to rest. Way storm along John. All the sailors he was bent. Way, hey, Mr. Storm along. An able sailor, bold and true. Way storm along John. Good old bosun to his crew. Way, hey, Mr. Storm along. Stormy loved the sailor's son. Way storm along John. His voice was tough and rough and strong. Way, hey, Mr. Storm along. I wish I was old Stormy's son. Way storm along John. Build a ship of 1,000 tons. Way, hey, Mr. Storm along. Ah, poor old Stormy, that good old man. Stormy along, John, storm along. The poor old Stormy, he's dead and gone. Come along, get along, Stormy along, John. I'll dig his grave with a silver spade. Stormy along, John, storm along. His shroud of the finest silk is made. Come along, get along, Stormy along, John. Well, lower him down in a golden chain. Stormy along, John, storm along. Our eyes all misty with more than rain. Come along, get along, Stormy along, John. I'll take them down to Montego Bay. Stormy along, John, storm along. 'Cause that's where Stormy said he would lay. Come along, get along, stormy along, John. I wish I was old Stormy's son. Stormy along, John, storm along, like build a ship of 1,000 tons. Come along, get along, stormy along, John. Fill her up with Jamaican rum. Stormy along, John, storm along, and me Shantymen, we'd all have some. Come along, get along, stormy along, John. Poor old Stormy, that good old man. Stormy along, John, storm along. A poor old Stormy, he's dead and gone. Come along, get along, stormy along, John.
Well, I love that. I particularly like the fact that it was kind of, you know, there was no beat, was it? You know, it was just Colla but the phrasing was completely on, you know, amazing phrasing, absolutely wonderful. And I had heard that one before, but not as nicely as that. So look, a couple of comments.
Stephen,
Paul, carry on.
I'm going to ask you, Stephen, which did you prefer out of
Storm Along John.
All right.
I'm not going to be drawn.
Very diplomatic.
There you go. So Marion Bichette says great harmonies and phrasing as well. I think Marion is a musician, and obviously she picked up on that too. There you go. Charlie, sounds so organic with the timing. How are you? There you go. Look, everyone's saying it. How are you so together? Sounds effortless. And Maggie Clark, she gives 3 rounds of applause. Carly Franklin also 3. Sounds lovely. Linda Boyce, lovely. Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you know what? I guess James and I have known each other going back to being in a choir together for, I think it's 2/3 of our lives now. I think it's been 20-something years. Yeah. 20, 24 years or something. We've known each other, singing together for about 20 of that. Stefan and Tim, the other 2 boys that sing with us now, they grew up on a brigantine crew doing some youth sailing stuff in the Toronto Harbor. So they worked on the tall ships and you know, learned how to sand down the I think that the way that Tim describes it, it was 1995 on a brisk day when he was sanding down the Stencil boom when he met Stefan Reed. So they've been singing again since '95 together, doing these kinds of songs. So I think that, you know, it just we're musical brothers at this point for sure.
Yeah,
fantastic. That must be a decent sized craft to have a Stencil boom as well.
They did have some of if you ever make it over to this side of the pond, they do a tall ships thing in and around the Great Lakes, and there's quite an incredible history of freshwater sailing in the Great Lakes. It really was before highways. They were the highways of getting things in through North America, through, of course, the St. Lawrence, and then down in through Montreal, and then into Toronto, and then you'd get everything off there, and you'd hit carts or rail or whatever we had. So, really strong and interesting tradition of how that came into our waters and grew with this land here, and, you know, had some mixing with the songs of the coureurs de bois, the people that were paddling in and doing the fur trade and so on. Really interesting crossovers into that music there.
Lovely. Now I'm going to pick up on the fact that you said 2 of your guys are sailors, because we've got 7 in our group, and Paul is the only sailor. And in fact, I reminded the other guys about a quote we found about a Canadian, Stan Rogers. His brother said, his brother once said, which I thought was a fantastic quote, Stan writes all these songs about the sea, but if he walked across a wet lawn, he'd get seasick. And I felt that actually that applied to the other 6 of us, and Paul's the only sailor. So I think it's good if you've got at least one person who knows what they're talking about, although it sounds like you all do.
I like to think I'd like to get out on the water, but there's a sailboat in my future, fingers crossed, if I'm good and my wife lets me.
Yeah. So talking about kind of Canadian musicians, I'm a huge fan of the Dreadnoughts, and I'm right in saying the Big C were Canadian, am I?
Great Big C, yeah, they're from Newfoundland, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Michael Bublé. No, I'm not. But just there's a big folk. It is a big Gordon Lightfoot as well. I'm a huge fan of him. But big folk scene, isn't it? I think from where we are, it's easy. You know, I'm going to sound really patronising and ignorant now, but I guess it's easy to think that you know, the Canadians are just into all kinds of music. But there's, you know, we know there's a lot of people who watch our streams from Canada and really just love all types, all genres and subgenres of Shanties and maritime music and folk music generally, isn't there?
Yeah, there's lots to unpack. I mean, James, maybe you want to talk about the folk tradition and music on the East Coast with your history there.
Yeah, well, I mean, Canada is such an interesting kind of patchwork of cultures and musical traditions. So if you look at the East Coast, for example, like Newfoundland, where Great Big Sea are from, they only became part of Canada in 1949. Before that, it was like an overseas British protectorate. So they've got their own sort of unique style of music, which goes back to a lot of the settlers who came from not only, I think, Gloucestershire and Wexford in Ireland, specific regions in England and Ireland, but also you had some Portuguese settlers, you know, who brought the accordion. So they've got their own kind of unique take on the folk culture there. And in Cape Breton, you know, you've got this very vibrant tradition of fiddle music, which goes back to the Scots Gaelic sort of culture that lived in the Highlands and off the islands off the west coast of Scotland. And you had a lot of Gaelic song up until about World War II. And then you got in Quebec, in the Francophone parts of the East Coast, you have a, you know, different kind of hybrid culture there of old French music and you know, Irish and Scottish music that mixed in, and some First Nations music too. And you get a lot of that out west. You get this Métis fiddle music, which is, you know, First Nations and sort of Scottish culture, which you know, formed its own kind of unique take on fiddle music. You get that in parts of Northern Ontario too. And then, of course, in the last 100 years or so, or last 50 years, we have people from all over the world settling into Canada and bringing with them their own cultures and their own musical styles. So if you go to a folk music festival in Canada now, it's a pretty diverse and amazing collection of styles of music.
Lovely. So, James, you just put that way more eloquently than I did, but it's diverse and eclectic, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah. And there's some sort of like, for example, the fiddle music is something that you can say is sort of like a common you know, factor between all these styles of music. I remember being up in the Yukon when I was 25 or so, and it was right by pretty much right by Alaska. And this older native gentleman showed up, and we were able to play the fiddle tune "Whiskey Before Breakfast" together. And I just thought that was so cool. You know, I learned that sort of through the bluegrass kind of culture. And here's this old First Nations gentleman who, you know, we've got this tune in common. So I guess to Richard's point earlier about how, you know, you had to travel and, you know, you could do ships or rivers or potentially trains. You know, the fiddle was a pretty portable instrument that could be carried across the country, whereas piano and things like that, not so much.
Yeah.
And as Richard said earlier, that language of music really does transcend borders and not, it doesn't transcend culture, or cultures, but it does. It's a bit of a leveler, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you look at, for example, the folk music of Quebec, which has a very strong, as I say, like the Scottish and the Irish fiddle music, you would have had people showing up that didn't speak, you know, people from Ireland showing up that didn't speak any French, potentially didn't even speak any English, but they could have interacted at dances and social gatherings through the music and through that kind of exchange.
I'm just going to pick up on a comment that Michelle Gallagher has left, actually, and she says mesmerizing, which actually I think is a very appropriate word for the Storm Along John medley, or, you know, the mashup of the two different arrangements. Because I'm just looking at, I've got the like the details to the side of my screen. It's 4 minutes 30 long, and it did not feel like that. But for a song with no beat behind it, just sung kind of quite con voce or free, it totally kept my attention. So I think that's the best word to describe that. And then also we've got a comment from with a few people tuning in from Australia. I don't know why, because it's like 3 a.m, but Margaret Stebbins says up early again in Melbourne, Australia to enjoy the music. I mean, that is Shanty dedication, isn't it? So there you go. Yeah. So how would people how would people get the album then if they would like to download it?
We hear the cool kids are getting their music on Bandcamp nowadays. I think that's where a lot of people are. That's where a lot of people are supporting independent musicians because they're perhaps one of the more ethical companies out there in terms of how they treat their musicians. They did a lot for the community throughout the pandemic, which has obviously been unbelievably difficult for professional musicians. I think more so than many. So Bandcamp, I'd like to give them a shout out first, and then the rest of your streaming services, the Spotify's and so on, Apple Musics of the world.
Yeah, I think the album's on YouTube as well, so you can stream it through that.
Brilliant. No, but I think absolutely Bandcamp. Let's push that, because I know we do get messages when we have other groups on. We do get messages from people saying, "Oh, can you remind us of the album name or where we can get it? Is it from the website or iTunes and so on?" So we'll absolutely push that, because there've been some that have just gone on the way they normally do and profited, and then some that have actually thought, well, the creative industry is suffering here, so let's support them. So yeah, thank you. We'll definitely push that. So I'd like, if I may, just to play now Way Down the Ohio, and I haven't heard this. I had heard the others, but I do know a version of this, and I'm looking forward to it. But so I'm just gonna mute everybody again, pop it on play. Here we go.
Rose up, Bowie floats down, way down the Ohio to Shawnee Town, and it's hard on the beach shore. She moves too slow, way down to Shawnee Town on the Ohio. While whiskey's in the jug, boys, and the wheat is in the sack, we'll tread it down to Shawnee Town and we'll bring the rocks all back. And it's hard on the beach shore, she moves too slow, way down to Shawnee Town on the Ohio. Well, now the current's got her, boys, taking the slack. We'll drive her down to Shawnee Town, then we'll bushwhack her back. And it's hard on the beach shore, she moves too slow, way down to Shanty Town on the Ohio. Well, I got a wife in Louisville and one in New Orleans, and when I get to Shawnee Town, I'm gonna see my Shawnee Queen. And it's hard on the beach shore, she moves too slow, way down to Shawnee Town on the Ohio. So some rose up, Bowie floats down, way down the Ohio to Shawnee Town. And it's hard on the beach shore, she moves too slow, way down to Shawnee Town on the Ohio. And it's hard on the beach shore, she moves too slow, way down to Shawnee Town on the Ohio.
Well, what a wonderful one again. Thank you. I keep missing turning off the brand thing because I'm enjoying listening to the music. Sorry. So let us know. We're going to let Richard and James go shortly, because we usually finish about 9, but really enjoyed chatting to you. But before you do, what normally happens is, after the guests have gone, we then get loads of comments and people don't get to see them. So if anybody has got anything they'd like to say, to either to Press Gang Mutiny or James and Richard in particular, type it in quick, won't you? And let us know what you thought of that last song too. So how about then plans for the future? Are performances looking likely with social distancing, or is it just all going to next year?
Well, they've sort of started reopening a few of the bars and music venues in Toronto, and from what I've seen, there is a bit of live music happening, but it is strictly instrumental. Yeah. So I anticipate singing is not really going to come back for another couple of years, is my guess, which is definitely very challenging for what we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll sort of have to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, it's It's tough. I mean, I love your idea of doing a streamed concert where we're live together and do the appropriate, distancing or quarantine measures to make that safe. Things are actually looking pretty good here in Canada in terms of numbers and pandemic control. So hoping that we can figure something out. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, we're talking a lot now to James's point on how people are working today, and you have to be able to record remotely. We're thinking now of how we equip ourselves to be able to put something together. We've been chatting a little bit the next album and doing something more folksal themed. So we'll all bring out some instruments and play along while we sing too. So there's definitely some pokers in the fire, but I think as with everyone else right now, we're just kind of trying to see how things unfold. And, there's the right now, and then there's the midterm, and there's the long term. And I think that, the right now, we do stuff like this. In the midterm, maybe we can get in a barge and sing to some people in canoes or something. In the long term, I can't wait till we're all back together.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. We've had people join us from all over, really, Spain, America, Scotland, various groups, and it's interesting and I guess slightly reassuring as well to actually find that, pun intended, we are in the same boat. Everyone seems to be maybe at slightly different levels, or there's a slight recurrence, and so it sets a country back. But generally, what's going on for one country is pretty much what's going on for another. And as depressing as it is, it's not like, oh well, it's only England that's not allowed to sing, or it's only Canada that's not allowed to sing. Everybody else is, because that would be just hugely demoralizing, I think. But
we're all in this together for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just before we go back to the comments, and we've had a few more come in, I'm just going to remind everybody that the 3 tracks we heard from Press Gang Mutiny tonight are available on the album Across the Western Ocean, which is a brand new album from Press Gang Mutiny. We heard Across the Western Ocean, the title track. We also heard the Storm Along John medley, and the most recent track we just played was Way Down the Ohio. 3 fantastic tracks from that most current album. You can also buy the eponymously titled Press Gang Mutiny, the previous album, or the East Coast Tour EP. Some fantastic work available digitally. Just head over to the website, which is pressgangmutiny.com.
And
Thanks,
just a reminder that Bandcamp is where we're going for the album if anybody wants it, or just send a message to Press Gang Mutiny, either to their website or via Facebook. But let's bring in a couple more comments, just from Marion Bichette, fellow Canadian. Love it. Charlie Moore, 3 claps and a fab. Michelle Gallagher, fantastic singing, thank you. Janet Woods, thank you. We'd really enjoyed your singing. But they have anyway. You know what she means. All gone back to that, and then that's it. I can see a couple of other comments because we cross post to a couple of different pages we've got, and primarily we're on our Rogue Shanty Chorus page, so we can only feature comments from that. But we've got one on our Rogue Shanty Boy page, which says, "I absolutely love this group. Never heard of them before. Thank you very much for featuring them." So there you go, and that's from me as well.
Thank you both so much. Just to say hi to a whole group of other people that we've never met before, virtually, 4,000 something kilometers away, or wherever you all are in the world. Real pleasure. An awesome show, team. Thank you so much. And I have 21 episodes of catching up to do. So great stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you. One more comment. I can't display this because, as Stephen said, we cross-posted different pages. This one is from a friend of ours called Karen. She runs a small community theatre locally, and she's asked us to please invite the 2 gentlemen to the Seagull Theatre. She's actually got an emoji with love hearts in the eyes, so I think that means she finds you both very attractive gentlemen. She'll be hugely embarrassed for me to say that, but she mentioned it first, so
I'm blushing.
And you know, actually, just off the back of that, do you guys do like educational stuff around maritime music and shanties?
I think every gig's an educational gig, frankly.
I just wonder, because you both obviously really know your stuff, and listening to James, it sounds like you're like an ethnomusicologist or something. You really know your stuff.
James is a professional educator.
Right? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So certainly something that we've discussed and something that we've taken on with a couple of different gigs, incorporating a little more of the history into the storytelling. And that's a little bit of a secret side project that you may have inadvertently uncovered, is that we would love to take this on tour with some projections and some multimedia to help kind of not just share the music, but share the history, share the culture, share the importance of keeping that going.
Yeah, and as your website says, I forget the phrase now. Was it the world's first truly multicultural museum? Absolutely, yeah. So there you go. Well, heard it here first. I think everybody watching needs to sign NDNs, don't they? Just so they don't uncover everything. But we might have stumbled upon their sinister take over the world plan. Well, guys, thank you ever so much for joining us. Truly, we do say that to every group, I know, but we've really enjoyed speaking to you guys and particularly listening to your music. We say that to every group as well, but I do mean it. And if anybody would display all the web links for Press Gang Mutiny before we finish, we're going to do a song or two ourselves. But thanks once again, and let us know if you've got any comments, and we can pass them on to Richard and James, won't you?
And
thank you, guys.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
If we hadn't enjoyed the song so much, we'd be dead jealous. So thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for having us. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, really. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. So that was Richard and James from Press Gang Mutiny, and absolutely brilliant to talk to them. It was what I think I really enjoy, and we touched on it slightly with talking to both of them really about the way that music was originally spread through the sailors, through ports and through sailors and fishermen. And the internet can be a lot of things that is not particularly nice, but actually through lockdown we've actually found that we've kind of had some wonderful guests from all over the world. And if you tune in regularly, you'll know that really from several different countries. And it's just been a way that we've actually been able to join with people who we probably wouldn't have done, or might have every third year on a festival or something like that. And it's fascinating to do that, but also wonderful to listen to their music as well. So thank you both, guys. And if you want to find out more about Press Gang Mutiny, their web links are showing right now, and just message the page if you want to find out anything else.
So as Stephen promised, a couple more songs from us. It's really hard to follow those wonderful songs, but we'll have to, because we're contractually obliged. And I say contractually obliged because we are funded currently by the wonderful People's Health Trust. They've made these lockdown sessions possible. So we thank them very much. They've funded us very kindly through the Active Communities program to make sure that people can stay connected with what we do, not just our regular rogues, but also some new rogues that we've picked up along the way. Perhaps you're joining us for the first time tonight via Facebook Live or via YouTube. Whether you're a first timer, or whether you're somebody that's picked us up in lockdown, or whether you're one of our regular rogues, you're very old timers. They won't like that. You are very, very welcome, and thank you very much for tuning in. We've just been joined by the amazing Press Gang Mutiny, and wonderful they were. Before you go back to check out how wonderful they were, just keep
watching us.
Yeah, watch us and see how amazing we are. Do enjoy the rest of this episode. This is the 22nd episode of Livestream. Stephen, do you have a song for us you'd like to sing?
Yeah, just keep chatting for a moment, because I'm going to look for a capo since I can't change key.
So I'm going to keep chatting, and I'm going to say that we're very grateful to our wonderful rogues, and I should just contextualize that by saying the Rogue Shanty Chorus is a fishing choir, and we meet in Lowestoft in a small theatre called the Seagull Theatre on alternate Tuesdays. When we can actually meet in person, that's how we meet, at the Seagull Theatre in Pakefield, which is the south end of Lowestoft. And they tend to look like this. This is most of our wonderful Rogue Shanty Chorus meeting in a performance called A Shoddy Night In. And Stephen mentioned the context of the word shods. So I'm not going to go back over that, but I will just say it's It's been a long time since we were able to sing with them. We can't wait to be able to sing, but we'll have to wait because we're observing the normal governmental conditions to get us through this epidemic. In the meantime, I'm going to mention this wonderful book by Edward Moore, Suffolk Words and Phrases. And we have a special word tonight that we're wondering if you've heard. And that word is cosset. Have you heard of the word cosset? This is our regular Suffolk phrase segment. We call it, "How you heard it, boy? How you heard it?" And the word, as I said, is cosset. So we've had a few comments of various different things, but we'd like to know what you think that old Suffolk word or phrase, cosset, could refer to. Let us know. Pop it into the comments box, because when you do comment on things, it really means the world to us, because it lets us know that you're engaging with the things that we do. We've had some fantastic comments, and rightly so, about Press Gang Mutiny. Do let us know what you think cosset might refer to. And also please click share, because it means that we are able to spread the fantastic genre of shanty music just that little bit further.
Okay, so I'm going to do a song now. It's kind of past into tradition, but it's not in the Round Folk Index, and that's based on the idea or the belief that it wasn't really a traditional song. Peter Bellamy was kind of credited with bringing it to the folk scene, and he was a big figure on the folk scene even then through his work with the folk band Young Tradition, and as a soloist as well, and also as he wrote a fantastic folk opera called The Transports, of which we do a couple of their songs with our boys, the group. But this is a song called Yarmouth Town, not too far away from us, just 10 miles or so from Lowestoft. And although I'm not in Lowestoft right now, it's still only about 12 or 13 miles away. Great song, and it's a wee bit cheeky, as all these things are. Anyway, it's Yarmouth Town. In Yarmouth Town there lived a man, kept a tavern by the Strand. This landlord had a daughter fair, plump little thing with a golden hair. Won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Oh, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? To this tavern come stay man, he asked the daughter for her hand. Why should I marry you, she said, I get all I want without being wed. Oh, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Oh, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? But she says, if you want with me to linger, I'll tie a bit of string all around my finger. As you pass by, pull on the string, and I'll come down and I'll let you all in. Oh, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Say, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? At closing time, the sailor man, he went to the tavern by the Strand, and then he went and he pulled on the string, and she come down and she let him all in. Won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Oh, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Well, he's never seen such a sight before, 'cause a string around her finger was all she wore. And when he went and he pulled on the string, she pulled back the blanket and let Jack in. Oh, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? So the sailor stayed the whole night through. Early in the morning went back to his crew. He told them all about the maiden fair, the plump little thing with the golden hair. Won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Say, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? And the story that soon got around, the very next night in Yarmouth town, there was 15 sailors pulling on the string. And she come down and she let them all in. And won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth town? Oh, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth town? So all young men to Yarmouth do go, see a plump little girl with her hair slung low. All you gotta do is pull on the string. She come down and she let you in. Won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth town? Won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth town? Say, won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth town? Won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth town? So Yarmouth Town there, lovely song. I think it's known fairly well around the world, maybe not, but either way, certainly very accessible. So if you weren't singing along at the beginning, you certainly could or should have been towards the end.
Couple of comments. Carly Franklin, she says, love this song. And Charlie Moore gives it 3 rounds of applause.
Well, thank you, Charlie.
Nice. Marion Bouchette, wonderful, Stephen, she says. 3 rounds of applause from her. And that's what we've got on Yarmouth Town. Stephen, I'd like to do one more if there's time, but I'm not sure. I can't remember what we picked.
It really doesn't matter, to be honest. And there are no credits this evening.
Oh, that's good to know.
Do what you like.
Yeah. In that case, I'm going to do the cheeky little number that I promised earlier.
Oh yeah, good idea. Shall we just disclose what the word cosset means?
Yeah, before we forget, you do that.
Okay, well I will then. So cosset, it's in this book, Suffolk Words and Phrases. Cosset, and it's by Edward Moore, originally published in 1823, and we have our copy here. And just once a week at random, we choose a word. We try and choose a word that we don't think is particularly well known. But it seems like a lot of people did know this one. So cosset originally is a lamb reared by hand, brought up by hand, a pet lamb. But the term is often extended sometimes to a child when much indulged. 'Twas cosseted too much by half. In the north of the county, the word seems to have the same meaning in Waveney, I guess, which is exactly where we are. Thus explaining the word a cosset lamb or colt, North Suffolk. The word to Hammond is annotations on the New Testament. I'm not going to go into that. That's a much bigger explanation. But cosset, so certainly a few people knew that. And old Edward Moore, he wrote this book because in 1823, on his return to his native Suffolk from India after several years' service, he was rather worried and perturbed about the fact that the peculiarisms or colloquialisms, and not that Suffolk had its own language, but some of the words and phrases that were original to Suffolk seemed to be in decline. And so he wrote this book, and it's become quite an accepted etymology importance. But maybe through his own work, some of these words will, he kind of reversed the decline, and possibly that's one of them, since so many people seem to know that it was exactly what it meant.
Wonderful. People are starting to draw their evening to an end, as are we. So I'll just sing the song as we head out. Once again, hopefully it doesn't offend anyone. It's all in the best possible taste, as Kenny Everett once said. It's called Cruising Round Yarmouth, Great Yarmouth. That's where I am tonight, in Great Yarmouth, and I'm not cruising round. I'm going to finish this, and I'm probably going to go straight off to sleep. But thank you for joining us, everybody. We're going to display the lyrics, so if you'd like to join in, we thoroughly encourage you to do that. And thanks one last time to our special guest this evening, Press Gang Mutiny. They did some fantastic songs for us from their brand new album, Across the Western Ocean. So here we go with Cruising Round Yarmouth. And I hope we can display the lyrics.
No.
Oh dear. Okay.
Hang on, let me see what I can do. Talk a bit.
Cruising around Yarmouth, basically, the innuendo comes from all of the sailing terms and the terminology regarding the equipment pertinent to the sailing boat. Things like the being bluff in the sails and putting the jib boom into the shot locker, things like that. You might suggest it's a little bit childish, but it's good fun. While cruising round Yarmouth one day for a spree, I met a fair damsel, the wind blowing free. I'm a fast-going clipper, my kind sir, said she. I'm ready for cargo, my hold it is free. Singing Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. What country she came from, I could not tell which, but by her appearance I thought she was Dutch. Her flag wore rich colours, her masthead was low. She was round at the quarter and bluff at the bow, singing Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. I gave her the rope and I took her in tow. From yardarm to yardarm, a-towing we go. We towed on together till we came to the head. We both towed together through Trafalgar Bay, singing Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. We towed till we came to the house of Expire. We gave her old horse with plenty of ire. I lift up her hatches, found plenty of room, and into her cabin I stuck my jib boom, singing Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. She took me upstairs and her topsails she lowered. In her neat little parlour she soon had me moored. She laid in her foresails, her staysails and all, with her lily white hand on my reef tackle fall, singing Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. I said, pretty fair maid, it's time to give o'er. Betwixt wind and water you've run me ashore. My shot locker's empty and powder's all spent. I can't fire a shot, for it's choked at the vent, singing Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. Here's luck to the gal with the black curly locks. Here's luck to the gal who ran Jack on the rocks. Here's luck to the doctor who eased all his pain. He squared his main yards, he's a cruising again, singing Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. Falderal laddie, right Falderal day, singing Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. Falderal laddie, right Falderal day. Cruising around Yarmouth. Thank you very much, everybody. Good night, and we'll see you in a week's time, or we may see you for the Monday night history sessions with Ivan Bunn. Good night, everyone.